One of my uncles used to say, always, get up and stomp your feet. That gets the drum beat out of your steps when you're walking. They said if you didn't do that, the deer will hear your steps. Your steps will be heavy all day and have a hard time seeing them. Spiritually, being thankful for the day and wash up, go find a creek or a lake and wash up and ask the water and the branches to cleanse you. My traditional name is Sunklinam. My grandfather, Ben Thomas, passed that down to me. And my first name is Kenneth, middle name Bruce Thomas. And I am from Penelakut tribe, which we have a reserve on near Crofton, where I pretty well grew up, between there and Ladysmith. And now I reside on Penelakut Island, formerly known as Cooper Island. It's some of the stuff they shared with me, I carry it in my heart, and I pass on the information to if I'm mentoring somebody, like my daughter, or my nephews, or somebody. My teachings might be different from somebody else, slightly different from other people, and everybody has their way, but what really makes sense to me and what was shared with me was respect the resource. You kind of skin it down a bit, make it nice and clean. Mm-hmm.
Supposed to just walk.
Just get it high enough off the ground where you can reach the top part of the legs. It's upside down.
Pinched.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thanks.
I will hop off the way.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Give you some room there.
Okay. So we're here today to skin the deer. A well-known food source for our people. A lot of us utilize it still to this day. So, I generally start with the sides, try to peel it around to the back of the animal, and then come back up to the top, and then work your way around the back side of the hindquarters, and then you can just pull it all the way down. I'll use the same knife for the skinning, but I like keeping the edge on the my main knife. So when I do take the brisket out, I'll use a different knife, serrated, like on a Leatherman. I use my Leatherman quite a bit for that, cutting through the bone. You just follow the muscle line, just along the ribs, outside the ribs, all the way back to the spine, the back part. Work your way around the shoulders. That's the shoulders and the front legs are generally where you get most of the fur, because you're working with the working around the legs and the armpits and stuff. So after you're done that, you find yourself taking lots of time to get the fur off the meat. It's sad sometimes, but sometimes we have a lot of damage on the animal when we harvest it. It died pretty quick humane kill. Depends on the temperature. Like now, I'd probably hang it for 2 days, 3 days maybe. But when it's really, really cold, sometimes they kind of freeze, so you could leave it for about 4 days, 5 days. The way I skin my deer is the way my grandfather and my uncle taught me. I was pretty young and I was just watching them how they do it, and then I just kept doing it that way. There's different ways. You look on the internet, there's some people back east, they'll hang the deer up by their neck and then skin that way. I don't know, I see all kinds of different methods, but I always use this because it's mostly how I was taught. So, and I try to not put too many nicks in the hide. Some people like to make drums out of the hide, and if you have too many nicks, it won't work so good. I've heard different people talk about they use moose hide and it's pretty tough. Elk hide, different areas of the elk, the neck area is pretty thick and tough, and a lot of people didn't like it. But it seems like everybody likes to go for deer hides. For easier to work with, I guess. I don't make drums, so I can't really comment on it. I just know I try to take care of it the best I can. Some of the mistakes I've made when I was just starting out was a lot of nicks and fur, like cutting the hide and getting fur on the meat and cutting the meat, a lot of chunks of meat left on the hide. But when this comes with experience, you'll be okay after a few times. And the other one was cutting the hamstring where you hang the deer from. I've done that a few times, and it's not nice when you you have to figure out how to tie it up onto the hanger to finish skinning. I've actually had a deer hanging. I remember one time a nice deer, and I was skinning it, and I cut just below the hamstring there, and I already had most of it skinned. Like I said, like skinning from the ribs to the back. And then I started coming back up to the top where the hamstring is, and I cut that, and the deer fell on the dirt. Leaves and dirt and grass, everything on there. Weird. Actually, there's one elder on Penelakut that I talked to, and he says, I'll take all the hoofs I can get from you. So he got a couple of sets. Some of the old timers used to say you always think it, no matter whenever you're dealing with it like this too. You're always thanking it, for being there to give your give you and your family nourishment, or whoever's gonna enjoy it. When I get my first deer of the season, usually my season will start, if I'm really low on deer meat, I'll start hunting in July, August. But I always give all or most of it to an elder, my first one of the season. Or I'll divide it up and give it to a few elders in the community. So when you get your first animal, your first deer, the old timers used to say you have to give your deer away, give it away, the whole thing, to elders. And you're supposed to take a handful of the blood and drink it.
Did you?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
What was that like?
I don't know. It's a long time ago. I haven't done it since, I'll tell you that. But it's something I have to do. We share. That's part of our teachings, is sharing. A long time ago, our villages had hunters. And the hunters would come in and share their catch, same as a fisherman. My cousin Rick there, he's a fisherman, and he's always sharing. I like fishing, and I try to share with whoever I can, for sure. So it's not just run around and hunt all the time. Sometimes it turns into a stressful time where someone comes up to us, when you're a hunter, known hunter, and a family will come up to you and say, I got a gathering coming up, think you can find a couple of deer for us? And to a lot of people, hunting's fun. It's a recreation, it's a sport, and for a lot of our people, it's a necessity. It's a staple in their diet. And when it's always it's an honor to get asked to go, help a family with, if I have extra meat in the freezer, I'll just give that up, but a lot of times they want their own fresh deer or fish, or whatever people are come and ask. And there's the bullet. There's the bullet that got the deer. 243. Well, pretty fast, so pretty devastating. Quick kill. Right away. Yeah, as soon as you find it. We got it. Take the guts out so it has time to cool off and things like that, and don't bloat. Otherwise, it doesn't get too. The taste goes. It's not very good once you get it bloated. But there are times when you wound an animal and you have to leave it. Say overnight, it gets too dark, or you're not too sure how bad or how good of a shot you made. So you gotta give it time to bleed out. It's still all salvageable when you do that. Just get up there early in the morning, next morning, and pick up the trail. And unfortunately, I remember sometimes it look all over all day, couple days, and you can't find it, so it's not dead. Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible feeling. Mm-hmm. Even a little buck like this, if you can't find it, you're like, oh man, you feel so bad about the life. You can't find it. It's not a good feeling. But one time I was hunting this one area I hunt every year, and I shot at a buck running, which I shouldn't have. I was pretty young though, and 12 gauge slug, and I hit him, and I went looking all over down the hill, down the ravine. 1 year later, a year later, I saw this buck, so I shot him, and lo and behold, it was the same one. It had a hole right here, kind of at the wrong end, you know, broke his leg. You know, it's like, hey, that's the one I wounded last year. He survived the whole year. So strange things happen. Just like what I was saying before, I think it's on here where we're always told never to waste anything, and my grandfather liked eating the head. I used to shoot some in the head, and he'd get mad. Why'd you shoot it in the head? And so I shot one in the neck one time, or in the lungs, and yeah, he cut the head off right at the base and cut the antlers off and the ears, and he burnt the fur off, and he put it under a hose, and he scraped all the burnt fur off of it, so it was just clean skin. And then he brought it in, and he put it in a pot and boiled it. Must have been for about a half an hour, 35 minutes. I remember asking him, Matt, how do you know when it's ready? And he says, well, when you lift the lid and it looks like it's laughing to beat hell, then it's ready. And yeah, it was good. You know, after we talked about it last time, I was thinking maybe I'll do that next time. Because I had it with him a couple of times and it was good. And I don't know why I don't do it, but you know. Well, you know, we were always told you gut it as soon as you get it. As soon as you shoot it, gut it right away. Help cool the meat down. And you know, there's times, you know, as hunters, you don't always make the perfect shot. And just before dark, sometimes you could hit one and it might not be hit so good. Then you go look, and you go back the next morning to look, and you know that can't be helped. So you know you got it and it's bloated, and sometimes that taste gets on the meat. So it's better to you know kill it right there and do it. But like I said, sometimes you just got to trim some of that off, like the tenderloins and things like that, where you heart, liver, take the taste right away. But generally, it's all still good. And, you know, just the inside parts are little not tasting so good. So, you know, learning from those experiences, you try to kill it right there, and then you got it right away. Early fall, early October, so September, I skin it right away as soon as I get home. Dark time when there's not as much flies and bees around. And then I put it in a cheesecloth bag, and you know, let it air overnight, and then get up real early the next morning and trim it up and put it in the fridge, and debone it, put it in the fridge, and then the wife likes making hamburgers, so what we'll do is we'll cool it off in the fridge really good, and then trim it down and grind it up and pack it up in the 1 pound packs. And then that's what we do a lot of times in the summer, early fall. It's got to get dealt with right away. You know, today, if we got something today, it would be good to hang for a couple of days. And get it home right away, and then take the skin off, let it dry, let the meat dry. And 2 days later, start processing it.
Paper was.
You know, the choice cuts, they say, he used to get his handsaw and cut right perfectly right down the middle like it was a bandsaw or something. He'd half it, and then he'd cut the ribs off, leave the back straps on there, and he made chops with the handsaw. And I was like, you know, why don't you fillet the meat off? And he goes, oh, because you lose all the flavor when you cut the bones out. And he was talking about the marrow and things like that too. So, you know, back in the day, nothing ever went to waste. And, you know, no, it seems like quite a few people just do the choice cuts and things like that. And it's all good, it's still good. Our people still utilize these deer in important gatherings, help feed community gatherings, or just put in your freezer and enjoy it later on. It's, you know, something we gotta look after for sure. Keep it going. Look after our resources, so it's always around. There's so many experiences. Like, you know, we try to help out people that can't get out, elders and so on, people that just single parents, single moms that enjoy it but don't have anybody to hunt for them. And just the expression on their face when you skin it, clean it up, and then you know, put it in a box or something. You go knock on their door, hey, you got some deer meat, you want it? Yeah, sure. And then, you know, just the expression on their face is priceless. And that feeling you get knowing that you helped somebody, you helped a family, is unbelievable. There's one time it really hit me when I first moved out to Penelakut Island, and I fished for this longhouse gathering. I got, I don't know, about 8 or 9 nice lingcod, and I shot a few seabirds, some ducks, you know, and dropped off a couple deer or something. And I was invited up to have some of that. When I walked into the longhouse kitchen and looked, and I was like, whoa, I helped provide for this gathering. This is it, you know, it really, I was like, wow, this is cool. Seeing people enjoy it, you know, people, oh, I haven't had this in years, or haven't had that, you know, hearing that. And then just sitting there listening, and they didn't know who got it or anything. I didn't stand up and say, hey, that's because of me, or anything, you know. It's just sitting there listening that was awesome. Like, it's just the feeling is rewarding enough where people really appreciate it and enjoy it. I try to do my best to help out when I can. But that was all teachings from my grandfather. Help out when you can. Help somebody out. Maybe one day they'll help you when you're struggling.